where he has formed a team dedicated to bring NetEase products to the West and form strategic partnership with developers and mobile game service providers. Before joining NetEase, David served as head of online publishing of Blizzard Entertainment, GM and SVP at IGM Esports. Let's welcome David to the stage. Thank you.
Test. So, thank you, Ken, for explaining how games come from the West to the East. I'm actually going to go the other way around. First of all, I don't know how many of you are gamers here, so just want to talk a little bit about money. So this is actually a chart. We partnered with a company called Newzoo that does a survey, and they basically try to size the market as well as the growth rate for the market. So if you look at it, Ken is absolutely right. So China is absolutely the largest, but also North America is actually right next to it. So if you look at it from a global perspective, there are 1.9 billion gamers worldwide, and year-to-year growth is about 10%. So it is a fast-growing industry, and this is for all gaming, including mobile. So if we talk specifically about mobile, this is actually a projection between now and 2018. So if you look at the aggregated growth, the compounded growth is about a 15% year-over-year growth, and by 2018, mobile will be the largest gaming segment for us. And for North America, this is extremely important because right now, revenue is actually divided amongst different types. So over here, mobile will be at $44.2 billion worldwide. So if you look at the US specifically, if you look at, everybody wants to capture the whale. And then when you're looking at in China, it's actually simplified because there's only really one screen or two screens, which is the PC as well as mobile devices. For US, what you'll see is that 73% of the heavy spenders will actually be on all three screens. So all three screens means PC, mobile, as well as console, which is huge for us. So big spenders on one platform is actually very likely to spend on all platforms. So then we actually talk about China and US. We usually, why NetEase came to the US? It's because the US market is actually about the same size as the China market. And if you look at US, it's at 22.8 billion and, for this year, and China is about neck and neck with the US market. And if you look at 2015, how revenue is stratified among the different devices, you guys can see that it's actually pretty evenly divided for the US, which is extremely interesting for us because the challenge for NetEase North America is to draw players from the other platform onto the mobile platform. That's where our games are. So with that background, let's actually talk a little bit about NetEase. So if you look at NetEase, this is actually, the first thing I look at is the financials too. This is, we went on NASDAQ in year 2000, and at that time, the stock is about $2. So if you invested at that time, our stock is one of those 70x baggers, or whatever you call it, went over 70x to the history of the company. So if you look at the last year, we actually grew, our valuation grew over 50%. The latest setback is the China stock market actually took a retreat for 30%, and we actually got the adjustment too. But the fundamental company actually was very successful because we successfully transformed ourselves into both a PC gaming company and a mobile company at the same time. So today's talk is really about how we've done that. So if you look at our company history, we're founded in 1997, went public in 2000, and we went to gaming in 2001 because we realized that unlike in the United States, display ad doesn't earn you any money. So we found gaming to be really the place to earn money. So our root in gaming is over 10 years old, and what we did is we focused on internal development of our own game. In addition, we partnered with Blizzard, that's where I came from, where we publish all the Blizzard titles to China. So we're very familiar with the culturalization process into China. And then if you look at some of our hits, PCU stands for peak concurrent users. That's how many people are online at the same time. It's actually higher than DAU. So DAU is how many people play in a day. So if you look at our first game, PCU is 1.28 million. Today we're going to talk about Fantasy Westward Journey. So if you look at it, there's 310 million users, and the PCU is 2.71 million players playing at the same time. And we have another MMO with about 100 million users, and another one that we published 2011 that has 80 million users. So all of these are very significant hits with sizable user communities. But one thing I forgot to mention is that in 2013, our company decided to transform itself. We decided to bet all in on mobile, where 70% of our resources at that time started working on mobile development. And also, at this time, we're also going global at the same rate. So let's actually talk a little bit more about NetEase, because NetEase is actually not only known as a game company. We actually do a lot of other things, because in China, what will happen is where you have the user, it's basically a distribution platform to get their time. So for us, we're actually the #1 email company within China, with over 700 million accounts. News, we're #1. Education, we believe, is a growing field where we're also #1. We have an open course, so anybody can learn through our online set of resources and get the top education that you can afford anywhere in the world, and really get up to speed on any subject you would like. Music, we're #2, and instant messaging, we're #3. So when we look at games, one of the things we did, why did we partner with Blizzard? Because typically the image of a Chinese company is that we want to do everything ourselves. Actually, NetEase's DNA is very different. We believe in building the best product to our users. So for us, it is about building the top product. That includes, we do everything. We partner with people, we do our overseas publishing, we do self-development, we license our games, we invest in companies we believe in, and also we do code development. So we do a full spectrum with the ultimate goal, like we really want to work on games that we're passionate about. And so we know that we can't do it all by ourselves. But let's actually speak about our internal capability. So at this time, we're actually a top 10 game company in the world. We're well known in the West, East, but not well known in the West. So that's something hopefully we'll get better at over time. But from a number of developers, we're the #1 developer in China. We have over 5,000 engineers working on our games. So we have published over 100 titles that are self-developed. So if you're looking at it from a development capability perspective, we are pretty good at what we do. So let's talk a little bit about what we've done. So when you look at a transformation of the company and you say 2013 to now, what could you do in, say, 2 years? Okay, so we now have our own development room in China. So all of our apps are featured in there. We have an Apple Store event during our launches. So we do a joint promotion. And we have over 15 titles that are featured within China. So most of our titles that get featured, that get published, are featured on the App Store. So we also recognize, in 2013, we started building our first game. So how quickly can we move? This is actually China speed for all of the people who are here in the room. So we, of course, partner with Blizzard, with Hearthstone. It's a wonderful game. It was a hit, and it's one of the best 20 games in the App Store. Also, we developed a game, it's called Battle to the West, or in Chinese it's 乱斗西游. We also got nominated within the same category as Hearthstone. So at its peak, its basic gross about $14 million per month. But today, we're going to focus about a bigger success. This is actually Fantasy Westward Journey, which is actually our hit this year. So let's actually talk about Fantasy Westward Journey, how this phenomenon came to be. Okay, so first of all, let's talk about the PC, because you have to understand the scale and the magnitude of this MMO in order to understand and appreciate that transformation and what risks we took in that transformation to make it a success. First on the top, it's actually on our PC side. So as I talked about, there are 310 million registered users. So if you look at the United States, that's the whole population of the United States playing the game. And then when we talk about peak concurrent user, just imagine the entire city of Chicago logging in all at one time playing one game. That's basically the order of magnitude that we have on PC. So when we take it over here and we say we want to create a mobile title for this, it's actually a huge challenge because there's a lot of failures in the past where people trying to take a PC game and transform it to a mobile title, they failed. So let's actually talk about the results first and we talk about the how later. So in our first 60 days, first of all, the game was developed by a team, less than 100 people. In 14 months, it went from concept to published. So it's done extremely quickly. So in the first 60 days, there's 23 million registered users on the mobile product, peak concurrent user at 2 million people, and gross revenue of over 300 million US dollars. So that's what we looked at as success. On top of it, what's surprising to us was the PC revenue did not decline. So because of this, we're now a top grossing publisher worldwide. So this game, when it was launched, it was number 4 in the App Store, and then actually at that time, we're actually number 5. If you look at gross revenue for publishers, we're number 5. And then also in the US, it makes my job really hard when I go back and try to explain my group. Because this game, with no marketing and no culturalization, actually ranked number 27 games overall, top grossing. That just shows you the spending power when you have a good product. You know, everybody's willing to really play the game. So let's actually talk about how this happened, because that's actually very intriguing for me as we dig in. So when we saw mobile, we knew that the users are shifting to mobile. So first of all, there's a shift in demand. The PC growth actually slowed down. Mobile growth is very explosive. As you can see, like we caught up within 60 days, the numbers between mobile and PC. That's just amazing. It just doesn't happen before on other platforms. And also, there's a platform difference. So people look at mobile devices, they say, well, mobile is casual. It's fragmented gameplay sessions, and then it's actually smaller, emphasizes on social, but it's disconnected. So that's what we knew about mobile when we went in and designed the game. So let's actually talk about the PC version first, okay? So this is actually kind of like a pyramid of all the things that you want to do in the world. So it goes down for an ordinary player, you can go in and belong, to a top player where you compete and then you feel achievement through the competition. It's fully interactive. And then what is really interesting is that the innovation in the game is actually not in the gameplay itself, it's actually economy. When we designed it, we designed very differently from the Western MMO. Western MMO, if you look at World of Warcraft, basically you kill a monster. Economy, gold, currency is generated by killing. So based on the number of people who play, basically you have a problem of trying to balancing the economy over time. So for us, we actually built a world economy like how our world works. We control currency. So we basically don't want to have the inflation problem of World of Warcraft where things get devalued over time. We actually build features around it to control stability. So things that don't make sense, like the gold, the tradable currency, we limit the amount of gold that's sold every day so that we can actually control. And features that we create are ones where these gold are purchased, and those are actually priced just like real world, where if you throttle the amount of supply, it basically takes away the amount of currency. That basically creates a balance. So we watch that quite a bit, and that's actually the core of the game. On top of it, it's what is the game itself? For people who haven't played it, it's actually like The Sims, but it's based on like Chinese myth. So what will happen is in the game itself, it's very logical. Say for example, if you want to get married in the game, so you have to do a couple things before you get married. You have to get a house, and then before the house can be ready for your marriage, you need to decorate the house. You need to invite your friends over, and then when you want to have kids, you actually have to earn money. So you need money to be able to pay for the food and the clothes for the kids. So because of that, all the things you want to do generate demand for all of the goods that are produced in the world. And then what we focus on is a non-violent gameplay. And then it basically appeals to both genders. So you'll basically find the game being very gender neutral. And then it requires a lot of social activity, because if you want to buy something, you get married, you want to announce it. People basically join the marriage, and then they see it, witness it. It's a big occasion. When you have a kid, you know, actually kids are useful because they can help you in combat, believe it or not, right away. But then when you have kids, you know, you raise them through it with a system. So inside this world, it's extremely dynamic. So what will happen is that the gameplay basically generates and produce all these goods and create the sense of the belonging. And then essentially we have a virtual society that comes from it. Okay. So when we design it for mobile, it's a huge success on the PC. So there's really a lot of challenge for the game team to really figure out what to do to make the change. So there are things that we've actually used within the mobile paradigm. So first of all, we simplified the control. So we made it less spammy, meaning like you don't have the mouse and keyboard. So we basically automate a lot of things. So there's pathfinding, auto combat, automatically upgrade yourself, auto provisioning. And also, because the game was over 10 years old, the UI was a little bit unorganized. So we basically redesigned UI so we have common UI components. On top of it, we optimize the experience on smaller screens. So this is like an example trading screen. It's simplified for mobile consumption. And lastly, we shorten the combat duration, which is important because if you look at mobile gaming sessions, they're short, 5 to 10 minutes. So we actually redesigned a combat system to have that. So then we actually did a lot of things that actually deviated from the mobile cliche. So we basically require real-time social and team interaction. This is actually very controversial because you feel mobile phone, when you design a game, it's a disconnected system. We actually made it where it's required for you to participate real time, which is a huge deviation. We believe we're building a social network, not a game. Second is that many of the events will require a team of players to actually play or participate. So it becomes very social. So that's also a huge bet that we took. Because again, if you believe mobile is disconnected, it's really hard to get a team of people to do anything. So we actually made it a requirement within the game. There's a large number of clan activities. So if you play by yourself, you're not going to level up that fast. So a lot of the activities built around clans. And then also we improved the chat system. So we added in voice chat. We also lowered the level requirement for chat, so you can do that right away and change the traditional mobile simulated social interaction to real-time interaction. We also took this opportunity to modernize the art. So on the left, you'll see that's basically the original PC version of the art. On the right, you'll feel it's much more modern. I'm not an artist, but I feel that it's actually the right direction for sure. And then what we did too is we brought something that we want to repeat the success on PC, because if you look at this game, it's actually the bread and butter for NetEase success. What we want to do is build stickiness and stability. So we created a durable and stable PC game on mobile. That's basically the goal and the design goal. So if you look at the original result, I told you that the economy was actually one of the fundamental bases for the design. And what we did was that this is actually one of the virtual items. This rare pet actually lists for $1,000 US dollars on the store. And similar to PC, and we measure by the number of premium items, the PC versions, most of these premium items also trade for $1,000. So we actually were successful in bringing the economy over so that basically we have a stable economy on both sides. So then, you know, what we did is as you can see, we have a variety of PC games that were successful, MMOs. We actually are taking the same strategy to do this. So with this, we actually have 大话西游, which is actually another very successful MMO, took a very similar approach. And then this month, we actually achieved where we have #1 and #2 top grossing games in the China App Store. So that was a huge achievement from the China NetEase side. So I'm going to spend the rest of this session talking a little bit about globalization, because this is extremely second piece of the puzzle for us. So for those of you who don't know this map, this is basically age of the warring states. So when we look at The East and the West, we're trying to basically all carve out the pie for the rest of the global. It's extremely competitive. So if I miss somebody here, because it's a limitation slide, it's not really, I slided your company. There's probably many, many slides of this size that it's required to fit the people on. So this is our office in Brisbane, South San Francisco. We started about a year ago. And then we actually launched our first title as well. So this title was featured on Google, and we actually are doing pretty well. We're top 10 grossing in action. We launched a game at PAX, so we did it differently. So we hired a DJ, Steve Aoki, who helped us launch a game. We had a concert, and this is about 2,000 people in the crowd, and the theme is around Speedy Ninja. And Steve Aoki, it's announced, is actually going to be integrated in the game as a celebrity in the game. So we're taking a different approach in launching games here. So we also had the problem with culturalization the other way. So Ken talked about the issue of bringing games to China. For us, we actually had the issue coming here to the West too. So you can see on the left-hand side is original art, on the right-hand side is our new art. The one on the top is a bubble gum. So we actually made a slight adaptation to avoid logo infringement. On the left, on the next slide, you see Apple iPhone and the lightsaber. So we actually made enough modification there to be safe to be launched here. Also, for usability, we changed the in-game icons. So these are power-ups that you can collect in the game. And each one of these on the left are words in Chinese that represent an element. We changed it to like an art that represents the element, which makes it more intuitive for the rest of the world. Then we found some small issues, and then this is hard to see unless you're from the West. On the shuriken that were thrown by the ninjas in the game actually looked very much like a swastika. So we made it more like a ninja star to basically avoid reference to Hitler. And the other one is that we have an in-game character that's a chicken, but for a tongue-in-cheek humor, he smokes in the Chinese version. But to be more child-friendly, we took out the cigarette so the chicken could be a little bit more healthy. So, and also we did a name study when we look at the name. The original name was Ninja Must Die 2. And when we did the study, we thought the name was very not intuitive from the Western culture because the main character is a ninja, you don't want him to die. So when we did a name survey, most of our respondents actually felt that way. On top of it, we found the majority of parents would not let their child play this game, which is extremely hard. So for us, we actually did an SEO analysis as well as naming analysis, and we picked the name of Speedy Ninja. That's why there's a huge deviation between the name in the China and the name here. And the last one is that for anybody who understands the art differences, this is actually just one example of how art's going to be different between the East and the West. We did a lot of A/B testing with your users. The one on the right is actually the one that's released in China, and the one on the bottom right is actually the one that won out on the test. And the last one is economy balance. Just to give you a sense of how people pay for premium currency in China, a 5-star weapon costs $840 if you basically calculate out the probability, which I think is a bit high if you try to release in the United States. And for the best character, the skin, which unlocks all his ability, costs over $7,000 over here in the United States. So one of the things we are doing is doing pricing experiments to make sure everything's good. So anyways, that's it. Thank you very much. And again, thank you for SVIEF for inviting us here.
Thank you so much, David, for introducing